And we're alive. Shangri-La. We're alive.
What's up, guys?
It's your boy.
What's up, guys?
Everybody, we're back here for Michael Lambert. Yeah, like, and I'm here today with Mr. Tissue.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Skinny.
Don't bother me. It's the tissue box. Today is sick day.
Show each other's lives.
Right?
Are you still gonna
Make love.
Are we live?
There. No. Right there. You can see part of Michael's head.
I don't even know what it is.
All right, a couple little class updates.
Making love. Oh, you just unplugged
What
it.
did we do yesterday? I went over political philosophy. I didn't get that done today. We were almost done. Very close to being done. We're
Still going?
done. Then we talk about the three groups. Okay, so we're gonna take a look at that very quickly.
Stay tuned.
Take a little time on chapters 1 and 2. Try to fly through those. I do want to kind of give you an update about what's going on here in our classroom. You do have discussion questions due tomorrow. Okay. What's tomorrow? Friday. Here's what I'll do. I'll edit it, and I can put a time on it. That's kind of cool.
Dang.
Time optional 11:59. So by 11:59 tomorrow, you have to turn in the chapter 1 discussion question.
Wait.
Okay. Does that make
So I
sense?
can do it tomorrow.
So tomorrow night I can do it?
The Charles Beard reading. Okay, same
Yeah,
thing.
you can.
When I make here's what I'll do from now on. When I put in the due date, I'll make it at by 11:59 that day.
Hi.
Okay.
We're supposed to discuss what we did for the morning.
But that doesn't mean you should stay up really late. You're supposed to get to bed and have a nice breakfast and all that good stuff. Okay. The Charles Beard
And 0
reading.
viewers.
We gotta get that done, and then the chapter 12, chapter 2, objectives as well.
So
Just chapter 1 too. I'm not doing any numbers.
yeah, because I don't hate tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll do it tomorrow. It's not.
I would like you to have Locke, Madison, Seawright Mills. I would like you to read those, be prepared to discuss intelligently tomorrow. Okay? Sound fair?
Yeah.
Have people had a chance to look at those? Has anyone looked at those yet? Okay, Aaron has. Omar has a little bit. What's that? Read them all? Read them out. That's actually out, right?
6 questions. I'll take one.
All right.
You did either?
So let's take a look.
Oh yeah, because you don't have health and faith. That's impressive.
That's not very good.
You get cancer. Do that head cancer.
Still 0 viewers. What the heck? Oh, just guessing. Love God. Your host.
Back to you, Ryan.
Today we're here in
Weather?
That's what I love.
Let's ask Bert, because Bert was out there earlier. Bert,
This is where we left off, right?
how was the weather
I
outside?
said one more to do with this. So I'll be quick.
Terrible. Hail.
Yep.
Sunstorms.
Sunstorm.
Bags falling from the sky.
Hailing like crazy.
Raining
Oh my
cats.
It's raining bags.
It's raining fish, cats, and bats. Horses, and anything's falling off.
It's pretty much hurricane.
It's sick day. Everybody's sick. I'm sick.
All right, let's take a look
This
at.
kid's always sick.
We
And
left
your
off.
host.
I can't see it.
It's not the
All right, we left off talking about this.
We'll be back.
You know,
Stay
political
tuned.
lingo. What's going to be conservative, or what's going to be liberal, left or right. And when we talk about most people today identify themselves as moderates or independents. You guys, when you register to vote, you'll probably most of you will register as independents versus as a Republican and or a Democrat. And we also said that the only real disadvantage to that is your inability to then vote in the primaries. But otherwise, no big deal, right? The big advantage of not registering as a Republican or as a Democrat is you won't get a lot of phone calls when it comes near the election and they're trying to get you to vote. Aaron? You can change whatever you want. Yeah. And to register to vote, very simple. There's an online form, or you can go to the post office and register. But there's an online form. You do have to, I think, print it and mail it in. I don't think you can actually register online. So there's a fee involved. The cost is the same. But otherwise, it's pretty easy to register. Can you register, like if you're not 18 yet, but let's say election day is the first Tuesday following the first Monday of November. Okay, so this election is, I don't know, what is the first Tuesday following the first Monday of November this year? November
Let me
11th.
just get that.
Let's see what election day is.
When's election day?
All right, so the first election day this year is November 7th. Okay, so let's say that, Aaron as the example, let's say Aaron is 17 right now, but she'll be 18 on November 3rd. Okay, so she'll be 18 by the time the election happens, by election day. Okay, can Aaron register to vote right now? Can you register before you turn 18? Yes, you just can't vote until you turn 18. So theoretically, you could register to vote now if you wanted to. You just can't vote until you're 18. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
So I mean, if you're 18 before the election, but you aren't 18 now, go register. Then you can vote on November 7th. Okay. Now, what are you voting for? Some very minute local things versus it's not a presidential election, it's not a gubernatorial election, it's not a congressional election. Okay, you're voting just for local issues, local leaders. Okay, so no big deal. All right, we know in terms of political lingo, to be left means you are a liberal or you're a Democrat. To the right means you are a Republican or you are conservative, you're a Republican. Okay? Do you know where this came from? The history of the left or the right? How they say it in Congress. Democrats always sat to the left of the aisle. Republicans always sat to the right of the aisle. So they start saying, oh, you're left or you're right. Okay? In terms of political participants, there's really 3 political participants in our system. Okay, we have majoritarians who really represent the majority of the people. Okay, that's us. Okay, we're majoritarians. Okay, you know, we like direct democracy if possible. Obviously, it's not possible. We don't have that. But if it were possible and we had direct democracy, would that give us more power? Definitely. When you look at the population, the overall population of the United States, are there more majoritarians, more political elites, or more power elites? Well, what do you think? By definition, majoritarians, majority, there should be more majoritarians, right? Think of the French Revolution. Who remembers the French Revolution? Liberty, equality, fraternity. Oh, my French accent. What do we know about the French Revolution? Nothing. Nothing.
French were involved.
Bourgeoisie.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Estates General, right? What was the Estates General? That was their assembly. That was their, for lack of a better word, that was their Congress, right? The Estates General. That's where these decisions were made. There were 3 groups represented in the Estates General, right? The nobles, the clergy, and the bourgeoisie. Of those 3 groups, which one was the majority of the population?
The bourgeoisie.
The bourgeoisie, about 97%. 97% of the population. 97% out of 100 would have been bourgeoisie. In the Estates General, how many votes did each group have? Because the Estates General, you had the bourgeoisie represented with 1 vote, you had the nobles represented with 1 vote, and you had the clergy represented with 1 vote. So each group had 1 vote. Generally speaking, how did the nobles and the clergy vote? Together. It was like Survivor. And they had a little alliance. They voted together against the bourgeoisie every single time. Well, it's 97% of the population. Eventually, what did the bourgeoisie do? They rose up and they cut everyone's heads off. Okay? They rose up. They stormed the Bastille. Right? And the French Revolution ensued. Theoretically, could this happen here in the United States? if you think about the majority of people, if the majority of people rose up, could they overthrow the government?
No.
Sure, maybe, kind of, possibly. Now, what does the government have that we don't have?
Tanks.
Military and lots and lots and lots of
If we get the
weapons.
tanks on ours.
Not that, people in Texas don't have a lot of guns, but still, you have, the military has lots and lots of weapons. Okay.
If we just
But
gave the hurricane.
you could see, ways in which the majoritarians could politically rise up against the political elite and the power elite, right? How can we do that? How can we upset the apple cart? Well, we could vote. Okay, we could protest. Okay, peacefully. We could speak out against what the two groups are doing to oppress us. So how do they govern that? How do the political elites and the power elites, how do they keep power? Well, they created a system that is unfair to the majoritarians, first and foremost. But other than that, how do they keep power? Kind of through fear. Do they have access to the system? Do they control the system? Do they have access to the media? Okay, can they see or can they control what we're seeing and hearing? Somewhat, right? Now the lines of that have blurred a little bit nowadays with the internet and with social media and things like that, right? Because now you have citizen journalists, for lack of a better word. I'll use bigger quotes for journalists. Okay? Because anyone with a cell phone or anyone with a video camera and access to the internet can do what? You can blog. And you become kind of a quasi-journalist, right? Because you are vlogging to the world. Okay? Slap it on YouTube and then suddenly you have a platform. Okay? Does that make sense? So there are ways in which we can kind of get around our traditional media, but ultimately, who controls? Or I shouldn't say controls. Control is kind of an outlet word. Who has access to the media? These two groups, the political elite and the power elite. Okay. When you look at these things like referendum, recall, direct primary, these are all ways in which the system was made more democratic. Okay. What was that time period? Around World War II, around World War I, in which they were trying to improve society and trying to make the whole system more democratic. What was that called? Yeah, the Progressive Era. Okay, remember the Progressive Era? The referendum, the recall, the direct primary, and those are coming from the Progressive Era. Remember Robert La Follette? That name, Robert La Follette? Fighting Bob, former governor of Wisconsin. Okay, he is going to be given credit, responsible for pushing through some of these changes, okay, to make the whole thing more democratic. Okay? When you look at the political elite, the power elite, these are the ones that have, like I said, access to the media. They have consultants. They have many political resources. They have expertise, access to interest groups, right? They have access to lobbyists. What's a lobbyist again? What do lobbyists do? They lobby. What's it mean to lobby?
Right for their cause.
Oh, there's certainly a lot of money, yes. There's a lot of money exchanged. But the lobbyist is trying to influence members of Congress. Congress. Okay? They try to influence members of Congress by saying, hey, vote for this, and all of our supporters will vote for you next election. Okay? So it's kind of a, quid pro quo, this for that. Right? So lobbyists are certainly involved in the system, and the political elites, the power elites, they have access to the lobbyists. They have access to the PACs. What's a PAC? What's a PAC?
It's a agreement.
Okay? A PAC is a political action committee. What is the sole responsibility of a PAC? What do PACs want to do? They want to do what?
Make action.
They want to take action. How do they take action? What do you mean to take action?
Politically.
Straight cash, homie.
Money.
They want to raise money. Okay, a little channel like Randy Moss. They want to raise money. They raise money for candidates. That's all they do. Political action committees raise money for candidates. Okay? Money for whomever's going to win. That way they can have influence once that person is in office. Okay, again, quid pro quo. Quid pro quo. It's hard to say. You know what quid pro quo means? You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And this for that.
Don't touch me.
All right, but anyway. Dervish. All right. So political action committees raise money. That's what they do. They have access to the bureaucracy. They have access to political parties, coalitions, caucuses. Okay. The power elite, they're the one percenters. Okay, they're the ones with the money. Okay, they're the ones who have a huge amount of influence on what goes on in this country. You know, the Bill Gates, the Donald Trump, what's that?
Donald Trump.
Warren Buffett. Yeah, Warren Buffett. Okay, is another good one. Okay. It's Ted Turner. You know what Ted Turner is? Ted Turner made a ton of money in real estate. He was the first. He's the one who started CNN. Okay. The thing that these guys do is they're able to have control over a variety of different things. Okay, whether it's media or these conglomerates. Okay, Fox News is who owns Fox News? An Australian guy who owns Fox News, Rupert Murdoch. Okay, and he has a huge network of other media outlets. Okay, you think guy? Home, you charge your home, the docking station. Okay, so political elites, power elites, they're the ones who control the whole thing. When you look at who does this represent, it represents a very small segment of the population, right? Very small segment of the population. These are your white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant men, okay? They're your white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant men. They're the ones who have access and control of this entire system, okay? I mean, women who make up the majority of the population are still considered minorities, right? So they're not going to have as much influence politically, all right? This guy up here is our one and only Catholic president, right? We've had 45 presidents, 44 individuals have been president, right? Because Cleveland had a split term on, right? So we've had 44 people as presidents. We've had one Catholic president. That means every other president has been what? Protestant of some sort, some way, shape, or form. Okay? Right? Religion plays a huge role in our entire system. One of you read Charles Beard, right? So with the Charles Beard reading, okay, spoiler alert, with the Charles Beard reading, you're going to see Beard is writing about how the founding fathers were these political elite, the power elite, and they wanted to create a system that was going to be unduly representing them, representing the rich, okay? And that they would be the ones who would have the most to gain, the most to lose from the whole system. Okay, so let's look at chapter 1. Chapter 1. Let me see, I'll get you a little bit of charge here.
See, you lost the class code. Yeah,
Everyone check your Google Drive. Google Drive for Google Classroom.
Does that have the code for Google Classroom?
What's that?
Does that have the code for Google Classroom? It kicked me out. I don't know.
Kicked you out? That's ridiculous.
It said it wasn't available, and then it went me sent me back.
Yeah.
I purposely kicked you out.
Ready?
Yes.
ZDR.
Yep.
QBL.
7.
I was watching.
You're watching?
QBL.
Didn't say it had any code.
ZDR QBL.
Was it helpful? 7.
So that's not valid.
It's not valid.
Has you in here.
Yeah, I know. I was in here. I was
Did
in
you
here
click
like 2
join?
minutes ago.
Where, yeah.
Yeah.
He like clicks his classes and it doesn't pop up. Just like
Weird.
Of course, this happens.
I haven't signed in yet.
Oh, I'm not signed in.
Are you back in? Oh, you signed yourself out? Accidentally? It happens.
Oh.
Right, Jalen? No, it doesn't. Oh.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
Step 1, that's fine. We're going to go through this very quickly. All right. You are going to kind of read through the chapter answer the discussion questions. You can use this outline as well, because the outline, you have access to the outline in
They
classroom.
just like an idiot.
Okay, chapter talks about, two questions about politics. Who's gonna govern, okay, and to which end? Okay, who governs? The people who govern affect us, the people, okay? How does that affect us? The to which end, in which ways government affects our lives? How does the government affect our daily lives? Before the Great Depression and the New Deal, what role did the government have in people's daily lives? Was it big? Was it small? Very small. Okay. Basically, they protected us if we went to war, but otherwise had very little influence on our daily lives. There wasn't a federal income tax until 1916, to the 16th Amendment. A federal income tax. Before that, there was no federal income tax even. Okay, so government had a very small effect on people's lives prior to the New Deal, the change in the New Deal. Power, the ability of one person to cause another person to act in accordance with the first person's intentions. Okay, you're going to do what I want you to do. Okay? We do what the government wants us to do. I comes because we signed over the authority for them to govern us, right? How do we do that? We vote for them. Okay, we have different ways to show that we are subjects to them, right? During the Enlightenment, what would they have called that? What have we entered into with the government? What do people enter into with the government? Yeah, social contract. I said social contract here. As long as they're governing fairly and justly, are we okay with it? Do we accept it? It's when they step over those bounds and become acting unfair or unjust, then we can protest, rise up, overthrow the government. Okay, metaphorically. Okay? How about democracy? Examples of democracy, going back to ancient Greece, New England town meetings, the Virginia House of Burgesses, things like that. Okay? Mayflower Compact, examples of democracy, representative democracy. Okay? Which is what we are. We are a representative democracy. Direct democracy is very impractical. Why is a direct democracy impractical? What can't people do? You can't have people vote on everything, right? If they did, the whole system would bog down even more. Okay? I mean, the system itself is not very efficient to begin with. Would it be less efficient if it was a direct democracy? Yes, without a doubt. Okay? Constitution does not use the word democracy. Instead, it uses the Republican form of government. We are a republic. Everyone knows that. Everyone understands what a republic is. We choose people to govern us. Okay? How is power distributed in a democracy? You have majoritarian power or majoritarian politics, okay, where they're going to follow the wishes of the people very closely. Right? Do our leaders follow our wishes closely? No, they act kind of as you're either going to be a trustee or you're going to be. There's two different models: either a trustee or a politico. Okay. The trustee model is basically where we just give them complete authority over us. Okay, where they're going to, we trust that they're going to do what's best for us. Versus politico is which they're trying to do what's, in our best interest versus do what they think is their best interest. Does that make sense? Okay. Does our government, do they always do what the people want them to do? No. I made these examples before. I don't know if this is best for the other guys. Think about the war in Iraq. In 2004, when we go into Iraq, was the public firmly behind that? No, the majority of people were opposed to going to war in Iraq. Did we go to war in Iraq anyway? Yes, we did. Okay. All right. Question.
So real quick, besides Greece, have there been any other places in history where there's something even as close to a direct democracy?
As close to a direct democracy? Not that I can think of, no. Generally, you're going to have some sort of authoritarian type government. Okay, you look at the monarchies of Europe that were, that were formed before people. Yeah, I can't think of direct democracy. Okay. There are aspects of it, but I can't think of one that's just direct democracy. In terms of political change, it's necessary to refer frequently to history because no single theory is adequate. Government today is influenced by yesterday. Government is still evolving. Our government is still evolving. Okay. When you think about the rationale or the motivation for the government to do things that they do, the motivation for the individual is very simple, right? What keeps representatives, senators motivated? What do they want to do? Get reelected. They want to get reelected. They want to get reelected. They don't care about anything other than being reelected. Okay. Members of the House are reelected every how many years?
3.
2. Every 2 years. Members of the House are reelected every 2 years. Remember, the Senate is reelected every 6 years. Okay, every 6 years. Okay, 2 for House, 6%. Okay. They're mainly concerned with doing whatever they can to get reelected. All right. That my last page? Yes. Let's go to chapter 2. Okay, go. They're going to fly through that.
Number 2.
Chapter. Or why the Revolutionary War was fought. It was fought. They created a government. What was the government created after the revolution? Was a document that becomes the basis of our government after the revolution? Articles of Confederation. And the Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation. Okay? How would you describe the Articles of Confederation? Awesome? Sucky?
Disorganized.
Terrible? Disorganized? Possibly sucky? Suckily awesome? Yeah, they were bad. Okay? The Articles of Confederation were bad. Why were they so bad?
There is no.
Too much power rested with the states. Okay? Omar? There was no uniform currency. Could the federal government coin money? No. Imagine going from one state to the next and having to, worry about exchanging money like you're going to Canada or you're going to Europe or something like that. And there was no uniform currency. What else? What else was bad about the Articles? Could they raise an army? Could they tax? If any law had to be passed, you needed 9 out of 13 states to agree. Okay? There's a lot of things within the Articles that were very, very, very bad. And the word confederation itself, what is a confederation? It's a group, okay? It's a loose friendship. It's a loose group. They have to depend upon each other in order to survive. But most importantly, who is each state most concerned with? Like a teenager, themselves. Okay? Each state is most concerned with themselves. All right? What event showed the weaknesses of the Articles? Omar? Shays' Rebellion. Yes, very good. Shays' Rebellion. Remember Daniel Shays? He was a Revolutionary War hero and organized an uprising in Massachusetts over what? Why was there an uprising in Massachusetts? What were they protesting? What's that? What do people mainly protest in our country? What do we not like? What are we most opposed to? Taxes. Taxes. We don't like taxes. We do not like taxes. We like when the government gives us stuff, but we don't like to pay for it. Okay? How do you pay for stuff? How does the government pay for stuff? Raising taxes. That's the only way they can raise revenue. Okay? Is by raising taxes. We don't like taxes. We didn't like taxes then. We don't like taxes now. So they started a rebellion over taxes. What happened with this rebellion? Well, if it spins out of control, could Massachusetts put it down? If it spread out of Massachusetts, was there a national government to put Shays' Rebellion down? No. So that typifies, exemplifies, it highlights the weaknesses of the Articles. So they decide, you know what? We've got to meet and we've got to fix the Articles. When they met in summer of 1787 in Philadelphia, what was their task? What were they planning on doing? They're revising the articles, right? We're gonna fix the articles. We're gonna fix the articles. What did they decide very quickly?
Scrap the article.
We got to scrap it, we got to start all over. Okay, that's what they did. They started all over and they created the Constitution, right? At the Constitution Convention. They created the Constitution. Okay. So who came? The framers who came, they were men of practical affairs. Okay. One state was not represented in the Constitution Convention. Who was that? Who didn't come?
No.
That'd be him. It starts with an R. Rhode
Island.
Rhode Island. Rhode Island did not send any representatives to the Constitution Convention. How many delegates were there? 12 colonies, 12 states. How many representatives were at the Constitution Convention? How many people? 55. 55. What did all these 55 individuals, they had a couple things in common. They were all what?
White.
White men, right? They were all white men, okay? And you could argue, Charles Beard will argue, that they're most concerned about protecting their own self-interest, specifically their interest of owning property, right? Owning property, okay? So they come to draft a new constitution, okay? There are two plans, the Virginia plan and the New Jersey plan. What do we know about the Virginia plans? Who did it favor?
State.
The big states. Favor the big states. Representation in Congress would be based on population. Okay, bigger the state, the more representatives you would have. Okay, if you paid off all your war debt, the more representatives you would have. So it favored the big states. Okay, the Virginia plan. Who was opposed to the Virginia plan? Small states, right? Because they had no influence. So they came up with their own plan that was called the New Jersey plan. William Patterson comes up with the New Jersey plan. You know, every year Patterson, New Jersey, named after William Patterson of the Virginia or the New Jersey plan. Okay, this is going to have equal representation in Congress, right? Who would be opposed to that? The big states. So what do they have to do? It's Friday night. Some of your friends want to go on a hayride. Some of your friends want to go to the movies. Others just want to go grab a bite to eat. Okay? What do you have to do?
Do it all.
Compromise. You have to compromise. What did they do at the convention? They compromised. What plan is the compromise? The Great Compromise, also known as the Connecticut Plan. Very good. After Roger Sherman. Roger Sherman's Connecticut Plan. Okay? What does the Great Compromise call for? It calls for a bicameral legislature, right? What's bicameral mean? Two houses. We have a house in the Senate. One is equally represented. Which chamber is equally represented? The Senate. How many senators does each state have? Two. Those, okay, two. And then the other house, the lower house, the House of Representatives, representation is based on population. Okay. At the time, it was. At the time, for every 30,000, every 30,000 there was in the population, you got one representative. I believe it's 30,000 today. Okay. How do they determine population?
Census.
Census. When does the government take this? When does the Census Bureau take the census?
10 years.
Every 10 years. And then they reapportion membership in the House. How many? A follow-up question. How many members are there in the House? 400 something.
425.
Whoever said 425 is very close.
429.
428.
435.
Oh, that's kind of off.
There are 435 members in the House. Is that number fixed?
No.
No? Yes, it is. It's fixed. The only way that 435 is going to change is if what happens.
Your state dies.
We can have more than 435 members in the House. So, if that 435 is fixed, got it? If that 435 is fixed, what does the census do then?
Adjust against who?
It adjusts it. Okay? It reapportions the House.
I told you to say that.
What has happened in New York State in the last 30 years? In terms
Population.
of our population, what's happened to the population of New York State in the last 30 years?
Decrease.
It's decreased. Why?
It's good.
What don't people like?
The weather, they're all
People don't like
over the
taxes, and the job market has changed, right? I mean, think about Rochester alone. Think about the city of Rochester alone. What was the one of the biggest? Robin, what was one of the biggest employers in Rochester?
Kodak.
Kodak. What's happened to Kodak in the last few years?
It's not completely dead, but
It's not completely dead, but it needs defibrillator. Okay. Yeah, Kodak is not what it used to be. I'm not lying when I say when I was in high school, if you asked an entire class of kids to raise their hand with the number of kids whose parents, one of their parents, probably their dad, worked at Kodak, or my dad worked at Xerox, which is the same thing. Kodak, Xerox, they were in. Okay, your parents, one of your parents worked at either Kodak or Xerox. Almost every kid's hand would have been raised. When I ask the same question today, you get a couple kids raising their hands. How many of you have a parent or relative who works at Kodak today?
my dad worked there 3 years ago, but he got laid off.
Yeah, and that's
Today.
That's
Today.
well, because then the other question is, how many of you have a parent or a relative who used to work at Kodak and then was laid off, and then the more hands are raised? Okay, so because of companies like Kodak and the hard times that they've fallen upon, what do people in New York State do? They move. Because in order to live, what do you need? You need a job. You need a job. And by the way, being a YouTuber is not a job. All right? You need a job. You need to make money. Okay? You need to make money. So people are moving out of New York State. So in the last 30 years, if the population of New York State has gone down, what has happened to our representation in the House? It's gone down. Okay? The representation in the House of Representatives for New York State has gone down steadily over the last 30 years. So that means if 435 is fixed, other states are doing what? Growing. They're going up. Primarily, what states have been growing recently? Florida, Texas, California, states in the Southeast. Okay, people are moving out of the Northeast. The Northeast used to be where the majority of the population was in this country, because that's where the majority of the manufacturing took place and the majority of the jobs were. Okay, is our economy the same as it was 50 years ago? No. 50 years ago, you guys could graduate high school, you could go get a job, you could make a decent living without a college education, by the way. Make a decent living, get married, buy a house, have a white picket fence, have 2.5 kids, live the American dream. Okay? You can live the American dream 50 years ago with a high school degree. Can you today? No. Oftentimes, even just a bachelor's degree isn't going to get you a job or a career that you want. Many of you are going to have to go beyond just a bachelor's degree, okay, in order to get the job. Now, is that right? No. Okay, I mean, should more kids go into trades? Definitely. Okay, because think about it. The trade schools and the trades, those are going to become more in demand as we go along, okay, because people aren't getting into those anymore. Right? Now, are coal mining jobs coming back in West Virginia or Kentucky? No. Right? Those jobs are gone, and they're gone forever. So trying to convince people of West Virginia that they are going to open up coal mines again, and they're going to have jobs that are going to give them a sustainable living, there's a lot of rhetoric, and not going to happen, okay? But doesn't mean that people who live in that area can't find other gainful types of employment, okay? Got there on reapportionment. My soapbox about jobs, crazy. About reapportionment in the House of Representatives. How that 435 has shifted. You know what actually changed the whole landscape of the United States? I could point to one thing. You could like turn this into like a college dissertation if you want. You can get a doctorate in anti-bullying. You can get a doctorate in this, I'm sure. All right. Bullying is a very serious matter. Don't bully. Making fun of bullying or making fun of a person who got a doctorate in know anyone on my staff who do that. But anyway, I digress. Dr. Poppers. The one thing that you could point to that changed the patterns of population in this country, why more people are able to live in the South, why more people are able to live in the Southwest today than they were 50 or 60 years ago, is the advent of air conditioning. Okay? You can point to the air conditioner as a huge demographic shift in our population and a huge political shift in our population in the last 50 years, because now people who used to live in the Northeast, okay, now have moved into the Southeast and Southwest, okay, and are able to live there more comfortably. And so as a result, if there's a bigger population there, what are manufacturers, what are employers going to do? Move their operations there, right? Because if people are there, right, you can find a workforce. So the air conditioner completely changed our political landscape in this country. Go with that as a dissertation. All right. Founders did not intend to create a pure democracy. It was impossible. It was impossible. I mean, think about how do we elect the president? Do we elect the president based on the popular vote? Electoral vote. Okay. How do they determine the number of electoral votes each state has? Population, sort of, kind of, plus 2. Okay. What they do is they take the number of representatives you have in the House plus the number of representatives you have in the Senate. Okay. So every state has how many representatives in the Senate? 2. Representation in the House is determined by population. So every state has House plus 2. Okay. So let's do some quick math. See if you can come up with the right number. You're going to forget one thing, so that's okay. How many votes are there in the Electoral College? We already said that there's 435 members in the House. How many members are there in the Senate? 100. So how many votes are there in the Electoral College?
535.
Are there 535?
There's only 30 states.
What are you forgetting?
20 states.
DC. You said DC. You're forgetting DC.
I'm forgetting.
How many electoral votes does the District of Columbia have? 3.
Yeah.
Okay, 3. So 4 years. How many does the winner need to acquire? Accumulate. How many electoral votes do you need to win?
270.
270. It's a majority. Simple majority. 270. 270. A simple majority. Okay? Do you have to win the popular vote? No. How many times in American history has the winner of the presidential election not won the popular vote? 5 times. 5 times. It's happened 5 times.
Bush.
Okay? Including our last 2 Republican presidents have won the electoral votes, but not won the popular vote. George Bush in 2000 did not win the popular vote, and what's his name again? Guy who's in the White House. What's his name?
Who's fourth?
Yeah, he also did not win the popular vote. Okay. He lost by 3 million votes. Oh, and weird, because he claims that there's 3 million people who voted illegally.
Hold up.
Which there wasn't. Voter fraud does not happen, Omar. Does not happen. The 90-year-old women who check you in to vote, they do not allow voter fraud.
So like, what is this for appointment if people are voting because of population?
Great question. The popular vote does count in the sense that, oh my gosh, I talked too long. The popular vote does count in this, sorry, I apologize. The popular vote does count in the sense that if you win the state's popular votes, you get all that state's electoral votes. Okay? So what does that mean? What do candidates do? They focus on big states. Okay? And Republican candidates spend very little time in New York, right? Because how will New York vote?
Always
Democrat, always Democrat. How will California vote? Always Democrat. Okay, so right away, if you're a Republican candidate, you don't spend a lot of time in New York or California because you're not going to win those states.
Ohio.
Okay?
He gets
Why? Because large urban areas generally vote Democrat. Okay? While when you get to the South, though, that's pretty strongly held Republican ground, right? It comes down to what they call the battleground states: Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Wisconsin. Those are the battleground states that can go either way. Okay, think about it. When Trump won, I mean, he won Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan by how many votes? Those three states combined won him the presidency. How many votes did he win those states by? I'll give you a hint. Less than the population of Greece. 70,000. He won those states by a combined 70,000 votes. That's how razor thin that election was. Okay? Because winning those states allowed him to win the presidency. Okay? And you saw what he did yesterday. Now he's like closing up to Nancy and Chuck. Everyone knows who Nancy is, right? Nancy Pelosi. He did. He had dinner with him, and then they made an agreement on, you know what, we're gonna let the children of the Dreamers stay, okay? Because they were brought here, they didn't realize they were being brought here, so we're gonna let them stay. So he's already backpedaling on DACA already, okay, on his attempt to repeal that. And he also said yesterday, as he's breaking bread with Chuck and Nancy, he also said that he is going to, maybe we're going to fix Obamacare and not totally repeal it. And we'll try to fix it. Okay? What was that?
That was earlier this week.
Yeah, I know. Wow, but it was still when he was chilling with Nancy and Chuck and then decided to have dinner with them. What the? Are you that guy who's going to correct everything? Like you with a laser.
Who did that?
Okay.
Is it you, Mike? Yeah. Jeez, I'm less scared.
All right. Here's what I want you to do. There are a variety of things, one of which is due tomorrow, the Chapter 1 discussion. So make sure you keep up on that. Tomorrow, we're going to discuss the reading. So I'm going to actually let you guys talk a little bit more tomorrow. I'll do less of the talking. Hopefully, we'll see if that's possible. And then I'm probably going to give you a little time tomorrow to work on some stuff. Would you like that? Would you like to work a little bit with your Chromebooks tomorrow in the classroom? Yes. I will give you some time tomorrow in class to do that, I promise. I was going to today, but then I started talking to them. Stop.
I knew you. Oh, it changes
Right.
That's all, folks.
I know. Right.
Does it save that?